The sheer volume of D&D monsters is really staggering. There's always another D&D book that you've never heard of. There's always another strange creature, the likes of which you've never seen before. So I'm here today to showcase a selection of monsters that are not only awesome, but they are obscure. You've probably never heard of some of them. Maybe you haven't heard of any of them. I think they're really worth giving a shot because they're really well designed. They're really inspiring. So, light your torches, ready your weapons. It's time to delve. Kicking things off is the God-Blooded Creature from 3E's Monster Manual 5, which was the final bestiary of that edition. And it's a great book. It has a bigger focus on lore. When a deity or other being of immense spiritual power bleeds on the material plane, its blood retains a bit of its power. This sacred blood can be gathered, and if a favored follower undergoes a rare ritual to bathe in the blood, this creature can become God-blooded. The creature becomes infused with a fragment of the deity's essence. These blessed champions are revered and honored by those who worship that deity, and they often serve elite roles as warlords and divine champions. Another cool thing about this type of monster, or this template really, is that it incorporates locations. It involves world building. These rituals always take place at holy sites. That's where the transformations are possible. And there are devoted creatures there who are guarding the place with unwavering vigilance. A God-blooded creature thus gains unique supernatural gifts that reflect the nature of the god or the entity whose blood empowered it. So in mechanical terms, this is a template that gets applied to a monster that the GM deems fitting. For example, there is the Gruumsh-blooded, orcs favored by the god. Gruumsh can undergo a ritual to take a bath in a cauldron that's filled with his bubbling green blood at maybe not a holy site, probably an unholy site. And part of this ritual process, the left eye of the subject falls out. It's permanently gone, and that serves as essentially a mark of blessing. So in return, the Gruumsh-blooded gains the power to unleash a terrifying gaze that briefly paralyzes nearby foes, especially effective against elves. And also the Gruumsh-blooded creature can channel Gruumsh's divine wrath into devastating bursts of melee damage with an even greater effect against elves. Or how about the Kord-blooded? Each year, the strongest competitors earn the chance to wrestle with an aspect of Kord, and those who impress the god, whether by victory or sheer determination, may be blessed with a drop of his divine blood, his ichor. Kord-blooded champions gain exceptional resilience against poison, disease, and bodily harm, and can call upon Kord's might to unleash a burst of athletic prowess, dramatically enhancing their strength, agility, and physical combat abilities for a short time. So there are other God-blooded variations of this template, and GMs are encouraged to create their own for whatever other gods might be featured in their campaigns. So each deity provides unique blessings. However, all God-blooded creatures share one ability in common. As a free action, a God-blooded creature can invoke divine power to gain damage reduction 10, but once this prevents a total of 40 points of damage, it ends. The whole blessing ends, and the creature loses the God-blooded template, at least until potentially gaining it again. The next amazing and obscure monster is the Wandering Tower, which comes from Monster Vault: Threats to the Nintir Vale. This was the final bestiary published for 4th edition, and in my opinion, it's the best bestiary of that edition. The uniqueness of the monsters and the amount of world building and the lore that are found in Threats to the Nintir Vale, it really is a rare gem among official D&D books. The Wandering Tower is an ancient mimic of immense size. It's one that has evolved into a living fortress. It disguises itself as a place that its victims yearn to find. It's assisted by shape-changing mirror mimics and trailed by scavenging blood ravens, and it patiently lures prey inside, then reveals its true form, sealing every exit as its walls erupt with grasping claws and ravenous mouths and writhing pseudopods. Throughout history, the Wandering Tower has appeared in many different guises. It's masqueraded as a roadside inn that swallowed a messenger carrying priceless relics, or the legendary Sunspire, sought by a noble knight, and also it's appeared as a magnificent manor that consumed an entire noble house. It's also posed as a mysterious tower in forgotten ruins, where curiosity proved fatal to unwary explorers, and it's also posed as a traveling bazaar that tempts collectors with promises of legendary treasures. In every one of its guises, its invitation is the same. It's, here you will find that which you desire. This is not only a fantastic monster in a fantastic book, it's the best mimic that I've ever seen. Moving along, we come to the Shaedling from 3E's Monster Manual 5. These are cruel, shadow-weaving fae that descended from pixies that abandoned nature to serve Lolth, the spider queen goddess. They are blessed with the ability to spin magical shadow just like a spider spins silk. They conjure weapons and shields from living darkness. They hurl cursed javelins that can plunge victims into supernatural sleep, and they can even create walls of darkness that conceal their movements while blinding their enemies. This shadow-crafted gear is temporary, and it also vanishes when separated from its creator, so it makes it fleeting, just like how darkness is fleeting. In battle, Shaedlings are disciplined ambushers that rely on speed, on their flight mobility, and on teamwork rather than on brute force. They strike from the air, using darkness to divide their foes, while ranged attackers rain down shadow weapons and others swoop in with perhaps spiked chains made of the shadow webs to harass anyone who threatens their allies. Shaedlings usually go about in coordinated hunting bands, though from time to time there are lone Shaedlings who steal valuable treasures and then disappear back into the shadows. And while we're on the topic of monsters, have you checked out Monstrous Heroes yet? This is a fully 5e compatible book that I published a little while back. It has an incredible 17 monster classes. They are actually complete race plus classes. They go all the way up to 20th level, so players can play as minotaurs, dragons, ogres, elementals, hags, vampires, constructs that can augment their bodies, and much more. It's also great for GMs to create in-depth NPCs and has a bunch of world building and adventure hooks. Monstrous Heroes really adds a whole new dimension to your 5e campaigns. Get your copy in hardcover or PDF. The link is down below. Now on to the next terrific and terrifying obscure monster. We have the Crawling Apocalypse. It's from 3E in the book Sandstorm. This is an ancient undead war machine. It was created by a race known as the Maru. They're now extinct. The Crawling Apocalypse is this horrifying fusion of necromancy, mummification, and monstrous sea life. These are gargantuan, undead war relics that have outlasted the wars that they fought in. They've outlasted the civilization that created them. Now they patrol the deserts forever. They wander forgotten battlefields or lie buried in hidden sanctums beneath the sands, driven by fragmented memories and an endless hatred of living creatures. In combat, a Crawling Apocalypse is a relentless engine of destruction. Its massive barbed tentacles not only deal damage, but spread mummy rot. That's one of the most doomful disease/curses of all. And the mere presence of a Crawling Apocalypse can overwhelm enemies with supernatural despair, paralyzing foes with fear. Its burrowing, its undead resilience, its constant regeneration make this creature a nightmare for characters, especially at low or mid levels. Basically, this is a massive, sand-lurking mummy kraken that acts with terrifying focus to annihilate any creature that crosses these ancient boundaries that it was created to defend. The next fantastic and gruesome creature is the Pod Demon from 4E's Monster Manual 2. This is a grotesque, slimy demon of madness. It constantly births tiny spawn from its own back, and it uses its spawn to overwhelm opponents. Many pod demons adorn themselves with heavy chains. This is actually a sign of devotion to Tharizdun, the chained god. This is the chaotic evilest of chaotic evil gods in the Nintir Vale setting. The pod demon has a bunch of gross and wonderfully disturbing abilities. It can transfer its consciousness into one of its offspring. It can do this at will. So effectively, it swaps places with a nearby podling, transforming the minion into a new full-size demon, and then its former body shrinks down into one of the pod spawn. In battle, a pod demon is a cross between artillery and a puppet master. It's constantly spawning its slimy little minions, which swarm out to surround enemies. It flings pod spawn like toxic grenades. It can even spew waves of them, or it can detonate its own pod spawn in poisonous explosions. So this relentless cycle of spawning, sacrificing, and body swapping makes an encounter with a pod demon feel like this escalating nightmare of multiplying demons, and really from a GM perspective, it is a blast to run. Heading back to 3E's Monster Manual 5, I recommend the Graveyard Sludge. This is a revolting ooze. It's born where corpses are desecrated and negative energy festers. It's formed from mud, decaying flesh, and the remains of countless dead. It is essentially a living creature and an undead creature at the same time. It can be healed by both cure wound spells and inflict wound spells, so positive and negative energy both heal it. The Graveyard Sludge is typically found lurking in desecrated crypts, in necromancer layers, and on corrupted battlefields. It feeds not on the bodies themselves, but on the lingering spiritual essence within them, leaving their souls beyond the reach of the mid-range revival spells, so things like Raise Dead and Resurrection don't work, but True Resurrection and Wish do. Ghostly faces and hands constantly struggle from within the sludge, creating this appearance of trapped spirits that are desperate to escape. Though it is mindless, a Graveyard Sludge is instinctively drawn to undead. It serves as a reservoir of necromantic power that strengthens nearby undead and allied necromancers. It makes their necromancy spells a little bit stronger. It can unleash waves of supernatural terror to drive away attackers, and any creature it kills rises again as an acidic zombie under its influence. Overall, this is one of the best D&D oozes of all time, and yet most people are unaware of its existence. Curiously, the illustration for the Graveyard Sludge was reused for the Oblex spawn in the 5e book Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. I'm not sure why Wizards of the Coast did that. In any case, the Oblex is an awesome ooze monster in a really cool book. Mordenkainen's Tome was really the peak of 5e as we knew it. Continuing with 3rd edition's Monster Manual 5, we come to the Ruin Chanter. It's another grim fey creature. The Ruin Chanter is a melancholy soul. It's born from the sorrow of fallen civilizations, and it often serves as this eternal guardian of ancient ruins. It's sustained by dust and decay. It wanders crumbling temples, forgotten cities, and shattered fortresses. It sings haunting dirges that mourn lost glory. It does not want the ruins to be swept away and something new to be built on top. Rather, it wallows in the rubble and the bygone memories. It just wants to preserve the ruins in their state. Or perhaps it wants things to go back to how they were in the past. It just does not want the future to come. A ruin chanter is a solitary and introspective type of creature. As well, it's a fierce protector of its domain. It despises tomb robbers and treasure hunters, so that makes it great as an opponent against adventurers. And it's hostile to those who might want to clear out the rubble and build something new. But it does tolerate those who come to dwell upon the past, or perhaps even repair what once was. In battle, ruin chanters combine mournful songs, ancient magic, and a deceptive agility. They want to wear down intruders who come into the ruins. They can corrode metal, blanket the ground with deadly stone hazards. They can also inflict supernatural curses. One of them affects the body, and it ages a target into this decrepit, elderly body, or it can affect the mind. It clouds the mind and essentially makes somebody senile and confused. Though the illustration does give the idea that this is a ground creature only, really ruin chanters fly extremely well. They fly with perfect grace, like zephyr breezes. There's a bit of an air theme going on with this fae. And they have mastery over unstable terrain, so that allows them to lure enemies into collapsing ruins and make the battlefield itself a deadly weapon. Though a ruin chanter's most striking power is Call Ruin Elemental. It can do this once per week. It performs this 1-hour ritual during which there's a storm that comes over the area, and then when the ritual is completed, a ruin elemental rises in service of the ruin chanter. And does the book say this has the same stats as a clay golem or a stone golem or a earth elemental? No, it actually gives us the following 2 pages in the book as a full spread about ruin elementals. It's just superb. This is a whole adventure between these 2 adjacent entries in Monster Manual 5. Speaking of an adventure in a monster, we head back to 4E's Monster Vault Threats to the Nintir Vale with a unique black dragon called Shadowmire. The combination of dynamic combat abilities and world building and lore that are contained in this monster, it really is a work of excellence. Shadowmire is an ancient black dragon who has ruled a swamp region called the Witchlight Fens for over 2 centuries. His reputation is infamous. He's one of the most aggressive and cunning powers in the Nintir Vale. Shadowmire is driven by a hunger for wealth and domination and control, so he's quite the schemer. He manipulates the swamp's inhabitants, especially the lizard folk. He wants to expand his influence and his territory, and he fiercely defends against whatever creatures he considers intruders. Shadowmire is a master of the region's secrets. He knows the ruins, the settlements, and the connections to the Shadowfell. And he uses that knowledge to scheme against rivals and to lure enemies into carefully prepared traps. Rather than relying solely on brute strength, Shadowmire thrives through deception and strategy. He hides his true underwater lair beneath the cairn water, with multiple false layers scattered throughout the swamp. Some of them even contain fake treasures to mislead adventurers. When threatened, he uses his mastery of the terrain, of stealth, and of illusions to overwhelm foes. He can even create swampy duplicates of himself to confuse and destroy enemies. Now, this was before 5e, so there aren't legendary actions or legendary resistance here, but check this out from the stat block. Instinctive Devouring. On an initiative count of 10 plus Shadowmire's initiative check, he can use a free action to charge or bite attack. And if he cannot use a free action to make this attack due to a dominating or a stunning effect, then that effect ends instead of him making the attack. What a great feature for a powerful boss monster. Our next specimen is the Shrieking Terror from 3rd edition's Monster Manual 3. This is a book that I've praised in multiple videos and one that I come back to again and again. The Shrieking Terror is a horrific flying monstrosity created by magically combining a Varguil with a Hydra. So this blends the Hydra's relentless regeneration and the many heads with the Vargwheel's terrifying ability to transform victims into monsters, into more Vargwheels. So these creatures, the Shrieking Terrors, were originally bred as weapons of war on the lawful evil outer plane of Carcerai. They were made to spread fear and destruction and to attack everyone except for the plane's native inhabitants. Their 5 heads look like twisted humans, and their eyes burn with unnatural green flames. As awful as this sounds, the heads often want to kiss you. This delivers a curse that slowly transforms you into new Vargwheels. So that means your ears enlarge into bat-like wings, and then your head rips free of your body. In battle, Shrieking Terrors begin by unleashing a horrifying shriek, their namesake ability, and this paralyzes those who hear it, allowing them to then swoop down upon the helpless victims. If the monster opts to slay someone instead of delivering the cursed kisses, its multiple heads strike independently, each one biting and injecting a poison that prevents the target from healing. And like with a Hydra, heads cut from the Shrieking Terror rapidly regrow into new heads unless the stumps are cauterized with fire damage. This thing is just an all-around monster. Monster. This is the epitome of an evil, dark fantasy or horror fantasy creature. It's weird, has a terrifying appearance, and enough lore to spark a gritty adventure. It's hard to kill, it has a fear-inducing shriek and venomous bites, and it can cause one of the most grotesque mutations out there. The last spotlight that I want to shine is not on one specific creature, but on a series of creatures found in 4E's Monster Manual 1 and Monster Manual 2. Now the books simply call them elementals, but I call them fusion elementals because most of them actually combine multiple elements together. Their lore is a bit on the simpler side, as a lot of elementals are, though it does spark some curiosity about the elemental chaos plane. Their names also sound like Magic the Gathering creatures, so I do have a couple little nitpicks with the fusion elementals, but they have some great strengths. The real strength lies in their sheer variety and creativity. A GM just has so many of these elementals to choose from. It's a really nice remix and expansion of the basic 4 elementals that we usually find. We have things like the Chill Fire Destroyer. It's fire and ice together, dealing cold damage with its slams, but then erupting with fire when it gets damaged enough. And there's the Dust Devil, which is earth and air. It whirls about, sliding enemies around and blowing them down and scouring them with damaging, blinding sands. The Flame Spiker is air, earth, and fire together. It can shoot flaming rock spikes, and when an enemy shifts about nearby, it can issue a crack of thunder that stuns the enemy. There are a bunch of these different fusion elementals: Mudlasher, Shardstorm Vortex, Tempest Wisp, Thunderblast Cyclone, and so on. Now, I like the core elementals as much as anyone, but it was really inspiring to crack open these bestiaries and find new takes on what previously was a very limited kind of monster. There are so many obscure D&D monsters, I could go on, but I'll leave things here for now, and I'll revisit this kind of topic in a future video. As you know, fantasy monsters are a great passion of mine, so I'm always happy to delve into the curious and scary creatures. I do want to say a thank you to everyone who supports the channel over on Patreon, and a special thanks go to the top tier patrons. I want to give a shout out to Modern Patron, Hoke, Adam Wood, Jared Primont, Locke, Ben R, James from KC, Technicolor Shale, Tornado, Agile Monk, and Dark Pismerga. Thank you for watching, everyone, and may your adventures be many.